Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and welcome to our first ownership update, I believe, on our 2022 Ford Maverick. We have just over 7,000 miles on the truck. We're coming up on our first oil change, something that I was actually going to do much earlier, but life has a way of getting in the way. And we just shot a little video covering the accessories we have on here. The bed rug from Bedrug, it's actually the impact mat from Bedrug, and then the Sentry CT tonneau cover from Truxedo. If you want to see those, check the link in the description. We've super appreciated having these, kind of making the Maverick more of a usable vehicle. We're going to spend today going out for a quick drive in this and talking about what it's been like having Ford's littlest truck in our stable for about 7 or 8 months at this point. Let me roll this up. Super easy bed to close. In fact, we should just start from back here. We've got Alyssa behind the camera. Everybody say hello. Liz, anything you want to talk about bed-wise? I should at least start by pointing out that we've done so much truck stuff with this. We have moved motorcycles, we have moved couches, large couches. 8-foot couches, which is impressive for a bed that's just over 4 feet.
Yeah.
We've moved a ton of refuse, yard waste.
Yeah, really large branches, sticks that actually had to be broken down. There was a couple of different hauls we did where the sticks mounded over this entire bed. It was impressive.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've done smaller gardening with it.
Smaller gardening, hauling mulch.
A lot of mulch.
Yep.
There's one time I came out to the truck to put something in it, and there were 8 bags of mulch just sitting in there. I was like, oh. And you're like, oops, forgot about those.
Yep.
Yeah. You've had littler flowers and plants in here.
Groceries.
Yep.
Have gone in the back of
there.
here.
We actually like to keep this bungee cord in here, not only for tying down the bigger things and just having it useful, but sometimes we put it right here, and then, for example,
Jeez.
Be careful with bungees.
Take that out.
But say you wanted to have some groceries kind of right in there and not be rolling around at all, you can kind of tuck it in that way and have maybe milk tucked up against the tailgate. You got to remember then when you open it, get it out. But there is that. The other thing is we actually don't have them on us right now, but every now and then we've been rocking with 2 2x6s in here as well to kind of break up the truck bed. So those go into these little slots that Ford included in the Maverick. You can see it scratched up the paint. That's not a big deal though for the truck bed. And that kind of helps again to create a little division for doing groceries or packing things or whatnot.
Yeah, I keep my work boots in here.
Yeah, yep. Part of the dirtiness in here is from mud boots sitting in.
Yep.
But it's also just nice we pulled out the Toyota Tacoma the other day and you tossed some shovels and a few other things in here and just hit the road.
That was awesome too. I really like having this bed rug in here because, I mean, it looks dirty now, but that's on the bed rug. Yeah. That's not on the paint.
And it keeps things from rattling around, sliding around. Yeah. Now this bed has really come in handy, and it's done more than we've expected it to. I think that's been the cool part. And I mean, look at this. Alyssa's about 5'1", and she can actually lean on the top of it and have a conversation. Right. There really aren't too many other trucks that you can do that with.
No. There's so many trucks that you've had where I just look up at the thing and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
So let's roll this close. Very easy.
I also really want to say I like how smooth this looks. This looks so sleek. It looks so classic. It's so strong. And I know you already filmed the review on this tonneau cover, but it looks so crisp, and I love that.
It does help the truck look cleaned up.
Yeah.
Another element back here we should point out, our only bit of damage so far. Unfortunately, we did back into an element of our garage, very small. A little bit of damage that I've covered up with some red tape, but technically there is a crack in our light, and it couldn't have been hit in a better place because if it were sheet metal or something, it would be a huge pain. Once we find some used light that's in a junkyard truck or something, once these become a little bit more common, then we'll swap that out, but hasn't been an issue right now. Yeah,
I've actually forgotten about it.
Right. Oh yeah, no, Brower came up to it once and was like, that's broken? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're right. So definitely subtle. Accidents happen. We've towed with it a few times. I've actually towed over its factory tow rating, about 4,300 pounds or so, and it did really, really well. And we've been careful, and we've yanked a Tacoma out with it.
Yeah, that was really impressive. That was a fun video.
Yeah, so I'd like to tow some more with it, but we've done little bits of towing here and there. You can kind of see how these plastic elements of the lower part of the truck work in action because we had to do some off-roading dirt roads, that sort of thing, and rocks and stuff come up and hit this rather than metal, which will keep from rusting, and so you can sort of see the action in there. Pirelli all-terrain tires are not the best off-road. I've tried to get up some hills that it's kind of like, okay. They're definitely road-oriented all-terrain tires, but they've been fine. They're quiet enough on the road. I haven't had any issues with them. Any other thing from the outside we should talk about?
I really love this color.
Really?
I really love this color.
Okay,
and
the
I
Area
really
51 blue.
Yeah, it is. It's a modern color that you're starting to see now on a lot of vehicles, and I really love that fitting in vibe that I'm getting when I drive this car of like, yeah, I've got a new truck. I've got a new truck that's got the really cool modern colors. You're seeing a lot of like the really matte, the different kind of grays, the browns,
sort
the greens, the blues, the flats, and they're making them beautiful, beautiful colors. I love that.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of the Maverick looks, especially the front, but it's grown on me, and I do still kind of think it's endearing.
You do have to admit that they have done a very good job with the black matting that we have here. The very classic Ford that's stuck with some of the chrome accents here.
Yeah.
It doesn't look too blacked out to make it look obnoxious on such a small truck.
Yep.
And it doesn't look obnoxious with over accented chrome. It's very tasteful.
I also think they've somehow managed to do a pretty decent job at keeping it fairly gender neutral. It's soft. It's a little borderline feminine just because of its size.
Yeah.
But they made it blockier and added some more beefy elements to kind of be enough for like everyone outside of your most insecure males to be able to drive it and be like, yeah, it's a neat truck.
Yeah.
You know, it's men and women alike seem to be generally okay with the styling, whereas like the Santa Cruz I think is a little more attractive, but I also think it's a little more obnoxious.
The Santa Cruz is obnoxious.
Yeah,
I would say
it's like, girl, look at me.
It's you don't know it's a truck until you see the bed behind it. It looks like just an overly styled off-roady-ish small SUV, and then it turns, or you see the profile of it fully, and you're like, oh, it's got a smaller truck bed on it. I guess that is a truck. Yeah.
That is a good point. The Maverick only looks like the Maverick. I mean, it looks like a truck the whole way through, whereas the Santa Cruz looks like an SUV until you get to the back. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I will point out, I don't know if you use this function all too much yet. You can attest. I like having the touchpad, especially because it's got a physical key, and there are a lot of times I'll walk up to the truck and the key will still be in my pocket, but I want to set something in the back before I go to start it. So I'll pop in the code real quick, unlock all the doors, throw something in. And another way I use it very regularly is when I leave the truck, I'll like shut the door and I'll press these two, truck locks, and I walk away. I don't have to get the key out of my pocket and press something, and then I just walk back up.
It's actually, don't show her.
Yeah.
Not that people are going to come to it, whatever.
Right.
It's funny that you mentioned this, because this is the first time I've ever had a Ford vehicle. I've seen these keypads on other vehicles. I've never really known how to use them. I never had to. Every time I go on a work site for my job, I use a keypad. Every single time. I have to carry an iPad, a laser measuring tool, and my phone. I don't have anything else that I carry with me. I don't want to take in a set of keys that jingle and are annoying. And what do I do with them? So I leave the keys in the car, safely hidden away from anyone that would see keys or be looking in my vehicle. I lock it. I know what the code is. I go do my job. I come back. I unlock it. I am never locked out of my car. I absolutely love this function. It is amazing why no one else, no
I've never
other
understood why only
manufacturer
Ford uses it.
uses a key code.
Yeah.
Why? Do that more often. Everyone else. It's amazing. And the actual, when we got rid of the Tesla, the one thing I loved, in addition to many things about that, was that my phone was the key to that car. So when I would go do my job, I didn't have to worry about taking the keys because there wasn't one. It was my phone.
Right.
This, I have the same function. It's a little bit different. There is a physical key, but it solves my problem. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. And there are definitely there's actually been times where you've been working out at the facility right down from DMHQ, and I've needed to get something from or put something in the truck, and I don't have the truck key on me, and you have the truck key, but I can just walk up, put in the code, do something with it, and then lock it back up.
Yeah.
It's nice, especially if you have kids,
Yeah.
being able to just have them run out to the car and grab something that they left in their bag or whatever.
Making sure they're responsible enough to lock it when they leave and remember what the code is. That's a whole other thing.
But you can actually just use the Ford app to make sure they locked it, and then like, hey, you left the truck unlocked. So yeah, it's a subtle thing that I've always found really useful. Oh, I'll go ahead and open it up. We won't show you all our code. Oh, and then you can press that button twice, open up all the doors.
I forgot about that one.
We don't do all too much with the back seat of the Maverick. We don't have children yet. But either way, we do use the back seat for maybe a little bit more utility than people moving or anything, but it does have its uses, of course. It's a little bit of a low surface for me. I find if I'm having to get things in and out, I'm really reaching down. For Alyssa, it's a little bit easier being a smaller person. And I could go for some like utility in the back that the Maverick doesn't have that some other small trucks do. But you can pull this up and the whole seat, the whole bench opens. If this were a Lariat model, it'd be a split fold. But either way, we got these big bins down here. And we store grocery bags, the reusable ones. We've got some towels. If we're going on a trip, it provides a place to fold some things and get those away. And Alyssa uses it for groceries quite regularly.
Yeah.
It's nice that 2 gallons of milk can fit in that side there, and it keeps them from sliding around. Not only that, but it's a hard plastic, so if anything were to break open, very easy to clean up.
It's all contained.
Yeah, that's
Very
definitely
easy.
nice. Do you ever put groceries in there and then close this and put even more on top?
No.
Probably not often that you have that.
It's actually, the bags that I use are reusable bags, and they're quite tall. So this whole thing, Aldi bag, will fit right in here very snugly though.
Nice.
And I'm sure that if it wasn't like so full of things,
you could close it.
I could close it.
Right.
I'm worried to do that though.
Yeah, and if you don't need to, why bother?
And if I don't need to, But everything, actually, this is a decent amount of space for the groceries that I would need to get.
Definitely. And then, I think you've ridden back here about one time. And
Yeah.
I've ridden back here once or twice, but we've had 4 adults back here. It's comfortable.
Yep.
One thing we do have is this accessory off of Etsy from someone called Acro HD. We'll throw the link in the description. It provides a water bottle holder, which is nice because it's very large. And then if you can either get to the side or entirely take it out, it's a nice big trash bag. He sends some trash bag replacements there, and kind of just adds a little extra element. If we're taking some sort of trip, we like having the trash bag to just throw our kind of smaller trash items and have the water bottle hidden there out of the way. And it's much less frequent that we'd have a 5th passenger, so kind of a nice thing there. Haven't really used the PowerPoints. I think once I plugged in my laptop on some sort of trip, but realistically, we typically take the press vehicles on trips. So if we were to road trip with this more often, probably find more use for that.
Right.
And then the back window, because it's manual, I open it sometimes, but that's because my arms...
I don't know how to do it.
You just kind of push that in, like a little clip. My arms can reach from the front seat just barely to open it up, but Alyssa's cannot, so she's never opened it. Pretty much just as long as you have the AC going.
Yeah.
Then not really much.
A lot of the times I just drive with the AC on.
Right, yeah, exactly. Getting up in the front, where we spend most of our time, clearly. I was actually going to clean out this floor mat after we were digging out the Tacoma the other day, and I forgot to. But fortunately, these are the all-weather, heavy-duty, whatever, Maverick floor mats from Ford. And you can see they really contain the dirt and mud well. That's going to be really nice when the winter months come back around. But the truck's ready for a good cleaning out, but we use this. I just noticed it says Built Ford Tough right there on the side. That's cute. The cloth has held up pretty well. Have you had any observations on the comfort of the cloth or anything? Or
I have noticed that when I briefly set my muddy boots on the cloth, the mud had all dried on the boots, but some of it was left on the cloth, and I was like, oh crap, I can't let Charlie see or know that I left my muddy boots on the cloth, and I quickly wiped it away. Brand new. Never would have known. Yeah.
Okay.
Very durable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a little bit of stuff right there, I bet. Oh,
It's on the back seat.
That's had some time to... Oh, look at that. It's coming out. So, yeah, it's a pretty durable cloth.
Yeah.
The other reason I asked is because sometimes Alyssa notices in some cars that with short shorts and shaved legs, cloth can be uncomfortable in some cars, but hasn't been an issue in this truck?
This has been fine for
Okay.
the most part. It's durable and it's not too abrasive. It's quite soft.
Cool.
Yeah. And with some use, it would actually just get softer.
Yeah,
So.
that is a good point. I haven't had too many issues with seat comfort either. You've mentioned after a few hours on the road coming back from your parents once that they weren't the most comfortable seats.
Yeah, I got some tired butt syndrome with that. Yep.
Some TBS.
Yeah.
I also was interested in swapping out the steering wheel pretty early on owning the truck, getting a nicer leather one. Unfortunately, this one is rubber. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It would just be nicer to be holding on to a leather wheel, which the Lariat model would have.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because there have been a few times in the summertime when I'm going to turn the wheel, I notice I don't like letting the wheel kind of go back to center.
Oh, slide
because
through your
it
hand.
slides through my hand and it actually almost feels like a rug burn. It's like a hot sensation on my fingers.
Okay.
That's really uncomfortable. So a lot of the times I walk it back, which is technically what you're supposed to do. So, whatever.
Overall, I've been happy with the interior layout, but Liz, you should probably attest to that more as well. You spend more time with the car. And you can mention things as we're going too, but any
Sure.
sort of pro or con observations?
Do have a lot of very interesting little compartments here that I've actually played around with. Sometimes I'll rest my phone right in here. It kind of flips back and forth a little bit. My purse actually fits perfectly right here.
Which is pretty cool.
And when I'm driving, I actually put it there quite a bit. And there's no issue that I have with that. I think where everything is pretty laid out here, I mean, I use this much of this space. I don't really utilize any of this down here. Charlie does. He'll put his wallet, he'll put his phone here. So I think it's really just preferences. And there really are a lot of things that people would be able to do differently based off of those preferences because there's so much different space that you could utilize in different ways because of the smaller compartments. So I've been able to find something that I like to use with the space in here. I don't really have many complaints. It doesn't look the prettiest, but this is a work truck.
Yeah, and I think... Oh, buckle up. It'll let you know. Storage space is definitely one of those things that it's better to have too much than too little, and the fact that you've been able to use this as a work vehicle and a personal vehicle,
right,
and find yourself not needing more space, that's good. I mean, that goes a long way. I find myself actually having used this top compartment a little bit more frequently, especially if I'm when I get to use the truck, it's usually for more like taking care of business on the weekends sort of deal.
Yeah.
So I might get in and just like slap my wallet right there, or gloves I've put there when we're kind of getting in and out of the truck multiple times. Yeah. That's been nice.
Actually, you are tall enough to actually even notice that space is there.
Right.
I am not. So that's also a difference between you and I with this truck.
Speaking of height, you do have to crank the seat up quite a bit from when we flip-flop and I drive or you drive. And having the XLT model with I can't remember if the XLT luxury pack would have gotten power seats. I think it would have, power heated seats. But because we don't have that, we've got a manual seat. And that's a downside. Sometimes I feel bad, like if I'm just going to run this truck down to the store or something, then I know that you're going to have to move it back afterward. And between changing the seat, changing the wheel, changing the mirror, changing the outside mirrors, it's a process. So sometimes I'll crank the seat back for you before you get back in. Yeah. But that being said, you do fit in the truck pretty well, which can't be said of every vehicle we ever drive.
I do fit quite well. I have noticed, and I'd like to talk about this a little bit more when I am driving, but when I am wearing shoes that are more flat, I can't really reach the pedals as easily as if I were wearing some tennis shoes or boots even. Okay. So I will have toe action on the pedals. Sure. My heel won't rest on the ground. Really? Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, and I don't really want to move my chair any closer because it's not safe if I were to get in a crash. You don't want your face to be right up on the wheel. And I've also, I recline more in my seat so that if I were to get in a crash and the wheel explodes, then I'm a little bit reclined away from it so it doesn't bust my face open. Right, so. Right.
From a driving perspective, I've actually been really happy with the truck. I think the throttle tuning's good. I think it's smooth, progressive, but yet peppy enough out of the corner. So kind of coming into this roundabout, slowing down. The brake feel is pretty progressive. I've never found myself like I have accidentally slamming on the brakes, but then as I get back on the throttle, the truck sort of takes off without me having to press the gas super hard. It never feels like a dog. And then again, there's a little bit of softness at the very top of the brake pedal, but then when you push in, it bites nicely. And I mean all that to just kind of say there's not much of like a learning curve or any weirdness about the car. We drive so many vehicles that most cars are fairly approachable, but every now and then you get into something like this Tacoma we have, very touchy brake pedal, that sort of thing, or very jumpy throttle in that Cadillac we had recently. But this, pretty middle of the road. What do you think?
I would really have to agree with that. Yeah, very approachable, very easy to drive.
The steering's not too heavy, but it's also not too light. Again, they picked the middle ground. However they engineered this truck, they picked a nice middle ground of everything. And it just makes for nothing that's going to really blow you away, but it's also not really going to turn too many people off.
Right.
And again, anyone can get into this and be like, oh, yeah, I mean, controls are pretty straightforward. You got your HVAC, you got your radio. I mean, this has simple Android Auto and Apple CarPlay support. It doesn't take a lot to figure out how to use this simple screen. Everything's really straightforward. Cruise controls right there, and comfort-wise, they just made it all work. And there are little things you can have preferences, like some people don't super love the rotary shifter. In fact, I don't think it feels very high quality, and I wish it didn't rotate indefinitely. I wish it clicked to stop like you get in a Ram or something, or even some of the other Ford products, and it slaps to the side and then stops. But those are minor things that I don't like get in the truck and I'm like, oh, that the way something like a twitchy throttle might or something. Yeah. You don't find yourself really ever using the drive modes, right?
No, I never use the other drive modes.
Yeah.
You had to tell me where the other drive modes were when we needed to use it for some mudding stuff.
Yeah, I had it in slippery mode when we were pulling the Tacoma out, but I mean, 98% of the time you get in, just drive it in normal mode.
Right, yep.
One bug we have noticed is our phones don't always know if they want to be connected to the screen. So sometimes we'll be driving around, we'll have CarPlay plugged in using the cable. Unfortunately, it's only wired. And Apple CarPlay will be up totally fine, and you'll receive a phone call, and it'll go through your phone.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's like, come on. So you have this system, and it's not working properly.
I've had a couple of different issues with it. So I like to listen to music because I go on long drives. So I will plug in my phone to use Apple CarPlay, and it does not play through the truck speakers. It plays through my phone speakers. So then I started switching to just playing music with Bluetooth. That's kind of been okay, but a lot of other times I have Bluetooth on. It says Alyssa's iPhone on here, but it does not play any music through the car at all. So I've had issues with Apple CarPlay when it's plugged in, Bluetooth when it's obviously not plugged in.
Yeah, that's been frustrating because for such a simple system, really that part should work fine.
Yeah.
And we don't really have that happen with any other press cars or anything.
Yeah.
Right here we've installed a little MagSafe charger for the iPhone. You can see slaps right on there, magnets up, and then really stays very strong on there if you don't have any sort of non-MagSafe case or anything. Charges up the phone, but because this car only does wired CarPlay, you still have to plug in if you want to do CarPlay. But this is another one of those 3D printed accessories from Acro HD. This is just the phone, the charger itself is not from him, that's just from Amazon, but what this does provide is this little adapter that is just provides a little ball mount, and this is pretty universal for a lot of chargers that you get, or car mounts, that sort of thing. And then he provides you this whole thing that goes into the cubby, makes it very secure, and you can just take this, slide it on there, and then you can pretty much put any sort of ball mount phone thing on there. And he even went as far as to have a tablet accessory for it.
Oh boy.
So we haven't actually used this, but I got it as kind of like an experimental sort of thing. If you did a lot of sort of driving where you did need a tablet available, put that in there, And then
Holy smokes.
you tighten that up. And then again, this is an Amazon accessory. Not very tight there. And then you could put a tablet right here. This would kind of mount up. And if you were someone who had a lot of mapping or a special proprietary software for your work, or you just wanted to be able to watch Netflix while you sleep in your truck, or maybe your passenger wanted to do that, you kind of loosen it a little bit, and because of that ball setup, face it, so many sorts of different ways, get it out of your screen, touch screen area there, then the passenger could have it right there toward them or something. So again, not something we've really used, but if it's something that looks like it would be useful for you, it's a great way to take advantage of that little dead space there in the car. Technically, Acro HD does have instructions on how I could wire in a little USB port here as well and connect it to the battery of the truck, and then I'd be able to just run the cable and keep it here so it's not just dangling in front of stuff. I haven't done that. Apparently it's not too hard to do. I just haven't gotten around to it. But technically it provides you everything and the instructions to do that. Another little thing is Alyssa likes to keep an umbrella right here in the door. It's kind of convenient for if it's raining. She can just swap that right out. I actually like the general functionality of the doors. There's a lot of things you can do with them. I like that the truck has a place to put sunglasses. Alyssa doesn't care for the sunglass holder.
I've started to use it.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm in a habit of not doing it, so.
Yeah.
I've started to use it.
Okay. Well, my sunglasses are in there right now.
I know. When I drive it, mine are in there.
Yeah, so this is your daily mobile.
Yeah,
just
it is.
Like this. Purse set in there. When you have your larger purse, would you just toss it on the floor?
It's actually on the seat.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, for a little while there, you got annoyed by the active lane keeping. Has that still been something that bothers you?
No, because I know how to...
the lane keeping assist.
I know how to turn it off now.
Okay.
Which is actually very simple. At the top of this stalk over on my left, it's the button at the end of the stalk. Turn off. Turn back on. So if I'm coming up on construction and I need to change a lane, or there's a biker or something and I need to pass and I need to get over in the lane, instead of just wrestling with it like an idiot, turn it off, do the action I need to do, and turn it back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not a super invasive system, but it just kind of helps you get back in lane. But it is annoying if you're maybe in construction, like you said, and the road lines are not accurate. The truck's kind of trying to pull at you, and it does have a beeping function, but I have that disabled.
That's great.
I like, unlike the Tesla, I like that you can have the sound off, but the pull on. What are some other things we've done with the truck? We've sat in it to watch the air show. Mm-hmm. We have not camped with it yet, but we've towed with it. We've moved things with it.
We've road tripped.
We've done a few different road trips.
Yeah.
We've been getting about 26.5 miles per gallon, which is a little bit better than the 25 mixed that EPA says that you should get. We've been very happy with that considering the functionality of the truck. We've gotten over 30 miles per gallon on a few highway trips. What else? Hasn't needed any sort of maintenance at this point. We did have one recall for a trailer brake controller. Pretty minor. As long as you're not doing any heavy towing, obviously that wouldn't have been an urgent fix. And the recall took like all of half hour. It was just a quick software reprogram, and the truck was ready.
That's pretty cool.
It wasn't like an airbag recall that isn't available for 3 months or anything, waiting on parts. I know the hybrid trucks have had more recalls and more issues, but really we're working with pretty tried and true tech in the 2-liter turbo. I mean, it's an 8-speed transmission that they put in a lot of their other products. It's a 2-liter turbo they've been using for many years. Not a lot of advanced tech in here, and it makes it so we haven't had anything go wrong.
Yeah.
I like the squishiness of the center armrest and the squishiness of the doors. That's big for me, where my elbows go.
Yeah. Yeah, overall for me, it's just a very easy to get to know vehicle.
Yeah.
It's very easy to drive. You get in it and you're driving, and you don't have to worry about any overly technical, any noises beeping at you, the seat vibrating at you. It's just a very simple vehicle to really get to enjoy.
Yeah, I actually remember thinking that multiple times, because we'll have these super fancy new press cars and everything, and then we get into this, and there's a lot of refreshingness ness of just the simplicity of getting to just drive your vehicle. You can see the blind spot monitor working right there, letting Alyssa know that that truck was there. She just kind of waits for it to be done flashing, and then you can merge.
Mm-hmm.
Super subtle tech that, again, is useful, but
Yeah.
not intrusive. It's just kind of a, hey, don't forget, there's a truck here. No, it's not like, again, we got out of a very tech-forward car, the Tesla
Yes.
Model Y, and
Man.
rather than just having simple things on the mirrors, it would freak out. And yeah, it's just a different experience.
I loved that Tesla, but I cannot tell you how many times I've been driving. I'm aware of what's in front of me. The car is screaming at me, and I'm literally physically jolted. Like, oh gosh, what is happening? I understand, car. Thank you.
Right. And this truck doesn't have adaptive cruise control, which I've been okay with. The only time I find that particularly useful is either stop and go traffic or 2-lane highways where it's just miles and miles of following someone. It's nice to be able to settle in behind them. But other than that, I've preferred the car not slamming on its brakes the way the Tesla did a few different times for no reason. And instead just putzing us along at whatever speed I set the cruise to.
Right.
One super minor thing that Alyssa mentioned near the beginning of having this truck is when she gets out of it, sometimes the door sill edge hits her pant leg.
Yeah.
Has that still been a thing?
That has not been a thing because I think I have just subtly reminded myself to take a wider stance when I'm getting out of the vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. Also, it hasn't been winter since that problem, and that would be a lot of snow and potential mud.
So maybe you have brushed your leg on it a few times and just haven't even noticed.
That could be.
Yeah, whereas if it were all muddy and slushy, then you might
Yeah.
have. So there it is. About 8 months or so and 7,500 miles with our Maverick XLT FX4 4K tow. Little truck that isn't the most flashy, isn't the most exciting, but kind of provides a lot of checkboxes checked, and we might end up hanging on to longer than we expected. It's so reasonably priced. I mean, we were able to get into this one about $29,000. I know we know multiple people personally who would like to buy a Maverick and cannot find one, so I know that's a huge problem, but orders for 2023s open up this month in August, so you can actually get your order in for 2023. I'm sure dealerships are going to be speccing a lot more and getting a lot more to sit on the lots. We were lucky enough to find this one on a dealer lot, but that was before the market got really crazy.
Yeah.
So we've been happy with it, as much as we've talked about moving on to something a little more exciting, something a little more fuel efficient, blah, blah, blah. This actually does a lot for us, and fortunately it's priced reasonably enough that maybe we'll get something else in the future. Alyssa will pick something out that was a little bit more of her flavor, and then we can keep this as a utility vehicle and a second car. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, we've been happy with it, and we're sure a lot of other Maverick owners have been as well. If you do have any questions about the truck, let us know. We've got a lot of different videos that I'll link in there, but we're happy to answer comments as well. And we'll see you probably around 15,000 miles.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching. We're Charlie and Alyssa with Daily Motor, and as always,
Drive on.